Are you ready to navigate the new way to work? Forbes Books presents Dare to Care in the Workplace with Kathleen Quinn Botaw. Here's Kathleen.
Thank you for joining me for my conversation with Susan Scott, the leading expert on transforming conversations central to the success of individuals and organizations. She's also the author of the best-selling Fierce Conversation series, and her latest book, Fierce Love, is out now. Susan, I regularly work with business leaders, and the other day there was a middle-aged gentleman in one of my groups who runs a law firm. He was so mad at the millennials who work for him. And I find a lot of leaders are angry that they're the ones that have to change to build cultures, communities, and relationships. How would you help them?
I totally understand that. For example, when COVID hit, we had quite a few millennials in the organization, still have some, but I realized, okay, there needs to be some educating here. And I remember saying to our millennials, for the Zoom meetings, I require you to be dressed business casual, at least from the waist up. Do not come to a Zoom meeting in your pajamas. Do not be sitting on the edge of your bed. I don't want to see a bed. I mean, kitchen's
You don't
fine.
want to see pillows? No pillows?
I don't want to see pillows and rumpled sheets. I don't want to see that.
Could be called pillow talk, you know.
Exactly. And because I know some of you are going to be tempted to be playing a game, while this is going on, on your phone or something. I want you to understand that as we talk about the topics for today, I'm going to ask each of you to weigh in, and at the end, I'm going to ask each of you, given what we've all just explored together, what would be your most important advice? So that means you are going to need to sit up, lean in, and pay attention, because saying I don't know is not acceptable. So, you're here because I value your thinking, your thoughts, your ideas, your perspective, and I want to hear it. So you have to educate millennials. You have to say, in fact, I remember, because I was a headhunter long ago in a whole nother lifetime. And I remember we'd get to the part with a candidate when I would say, tell me what you're looking for financially. And they'd say, well, I feel like I need to earn this amount of money now because, I've got 2 kids going into college and my wife and I are trying to buy another home or blah, blah, blah. And I would have to have the same conversation that I have had with some of our millennials. And the candidate would often say, I feel like this is what I'm worth at this point. And I would always say, if we paid you what you are worth, there's not enough money on the planet. You're worth gazillions. And that's not what this is about. There's a range for every single position in every single industry. There is a range of salaries, and your salary will fall within this range. And if you want more, you may need to shift industries. You may need to focus elsewhere, on an industry that typically pays more. But nobody owes you anything. And this is not about your worth. This is about what the marketplace is doing out there. And that's all it's about. And that's what we're going to address. So some of it is just educating them, because nobody explained this. I mean, I understand the anger, but there's no usefulness in the anger. You have to say, all right, I get it. I get that you want more. I get that you think that after 2 weeks on the job, you should be promoted. I get that this, I get that. So let me share with you reality from where I sit. And, and I want this to be a conversation. So I want you to respond, but let's talk this through. And I have said to a few of our millennials, if you feel you would be happier elsewhere, then you must go. And I'll help you pack your bags. I'll give you, whatever I can do to be helpful to you. But if you're not happy here, and if the topic that keeps coming up for you is, I think I should have more, do more, be more, whatever, that's becoming a real drag for me, your leader. And so I don't want to hear that again. But if you really feel that way, you should definitely go, fly.
Exactly. Exactly. And I believe that most leaders now are not inviting people to leave because
Yeah.
there's a inventory issue on the talent side. And since you have been in the recruiting business before, when there's talent scarcity and a gap between the number of positions in our country that need to be fulfilled and the number of people who actually want to go to work, they're afraid, again, fear is ruling the conversation. They're afraid to say, well, Susan, I'm sorry, I appreciate your point of view. Why don't you go find that somewhere else? They're not
Yeah.
opening the door and inviting them to leave because they're scared.
And you know what, Kathleen? We've been through all that ourselves as a company with various employees that we have. And our CEO, Ed Beltran, and I agree that we would rather have one extraordinary human being working with us than 5 just adequate
Correct.
people. I mean, we are constantly hiring up. We hire slowly, so it's a lot of checking out, and then we fire quickly. If a person isn't doing well within a reasonable amount of time, we lovingly show them the door and wish them the best. And we try on the front end, the hiring slowly to get it right so that doesn't happen. But we have parted company with a number of people during the last 2 years, and it has actually made us a much better organization, even though some positions have yet to be filled. But right now, we're in, at least in our business, there's some amazing talent out there. We're interviewing some extraordinary people. I'm really excited about, bringing some of these folks into our organization.
And your company will be better for it. And by setting those people free, they will live a better life.
Yeah. Yes.
And they will be happier.
They will. I mean, I just really don't want somebody who's not happy in their work. I want them to bring that more joyful soul into the door with them. And one of the things, it's a theme throughout all of my writing, all of our teaching, is that we do teach people how to treat us, and we get what we tolerate. Whether it's an employee or my life partner, whoever it is, if someone does or says something that is hurtful or is problematic, if I don't call it right then and there and say, hang on, what you just said has got me a little confused. Can you tell me what's going on? And dig into that, then we'll end up being angry because we stuffed it. We didn't have the conversation. We didn't give the feedback. We didn't ask the questions. We stuffed it. So now we're angry. And it's interesting in personal relationships, sometimes people, when they realize they're in trouble, they either go to a marriage counselor or they avoid sensitive topics.
Yes.
And the problem is threefold. By the time we realize we're in trouble, it may be too late to save the relationship. If the only way we can have a meaningful conversation is in the presence of a referee, unless the referee moves in with us, we're and if you simply stop trying to talk about the things that are troubling you, it's going to be very quiet in our companies, in our homes. In our homes, we're no longer lovers, we're just housemates. And frankly, it is what we are not talking about that could possibly kill us. So I think we have to understand that, again, if a problem exists, it exists whether we talk about it or not. So we might as well talk about it.
Absolutely. And you are one of, few women leading early. And what I hear from women, and I talk to women all the time in business, they go to a meeting and they have something to say, but they don't know how to say it during the meeting. And they have this moment after they leave the meeting and they go home and they think, oh, I wish I said.
Yes,
So
exactly.
have you ever been in that situation, Susan? I wish I said.
Oh.
I should have said.
Oh, yeah. Both in the workplace and at home. I wish I said. And then, so we start by pointing out the why conversations is so important. We're navigating our lives one conversation at a time. The conversation is the relationship, et cetera. And then we go into the how. So,
Yes.
we want people to figure out, how do I share what it is that's on my mind in a way that might help interrogate reality, might provoke learning, help us tackle and resolve our tough challenges, and actually enrich the relationships with everybody in the
Exactly.
room. How do I do that? And that's one of the things that we're very good at teaching people how to do that. And this isn't about giving a speech. This is about participating in a meeting. How do you do that in a way that is really useful? And one of the secrets, Kathleen, is that in any situation, the person who can most accurately describe reality from her perspective without laying blame will emerge a leader, whether designated or not. So that's one of the keys, is how do I, if I, in a meeting, if I say, okay, I know that all of us want to get it right for all of us. And so may I share a competing perspective with you that I think might be useful for you to hear, so that we've got all the pieces of the puzzle together before a decision is made. And when you start out that way, nobody's going to say, no, we don't want to hear what you have to say.
You hope. And it's
So,
called framing the conversation, and
yeah.
framing the conversation so it can be received.
Yeah. The simplest definition of a fierce conversation is one in which we come out from behind ourselves into our conversations and make them real. And unfortunately, there's a lot of unreal stuff out there. You mentioned earlier that sometimes we have a very different face at work than than at home. But when we get stressed, when things are tough, we typically revert. So, for example, if you squeeze an orange, what's going to come out of it? Orange juice, because that's what's in it. And the orange doesn't care whether it's on the kitchen counter or the conference table at work. You squeeze somebody, you put them in a tough situation or give them a tough challenge, and what is inside them is going to show up. And it doesn't matter where we are. We take ourselves with us wherever we go, and we certainly do. And so I think some of us have instincts and ingrained habits that are not serving us and are not serving anybody else around us. And it's really useful to take a look at that every once in a while and say, okay, it'd be easy for me to blame he, she, it, they, that, them for, result I don't like. But, somewhere in here, I am pretty sure I will find my DNA. So where's my DNA in this issue? What have I done? What have I been doing that is contributing to things being the way they are? And what do I need to do differently? So that's really key. We have a whole training session on accountability, and it's a very different approach than most people take on accountability. And it's mostly about modeling it and holding others able. So when I say I want to talk about this, and I see where I have messed up, I see where I haven't done the best I could do, that's powerful. People
Absolutely.
tend to and really appreciate it when someone says something like that.
Absolutely. I love what you just said. We take ourselves with us wherever we go. And you talk about difficult conversations requiring true presence. So that phrase you just said, we take ourselves with us wherever we go. How does that align with true presence?
Well, true presence to me suggests a couple of things that need to exist. One is I need to have as my goal in any conversation, whether it's a one-on-one or in a meeting, I need to have as my goal that I want us all to get to the best decisions for all of us. And that is important. And so true presence doesn't always mean that I am talking. As a matter of fact, one of the greatest gifts we can give to anyone is the purity of our attention. So I've been in Kenya a number of times. I'm going back there this summer, God willing. And there is a greeting in Africa when two people are way out in the Masai Mara with their cows and their goats, and they come upon one another. The first person to speak says, Sawubona, which means I see you. And the response is Sikhona, which means I am here. And the order is important. It's as if until you see me, I do not exist. So I think true presence requires not only that I am willing to be seen, including with all of my faults, but that I am very interested in seeing others, maybe at a deeper degree than ever before. One of the huge goals of a fierce conversation is to help us connect with the people who are important to us at a deep level, or lower our aim. So I really feel that the next frontier for exponential growth, whether it is for an organization or for an individual, does lie in the area of human connectivity. And that means we need to engage others intellectually and emotionally.
Totally
we need to
agree.
do both, head and heart. We call it heart plus smart. I remember working with one of the very large high-tech companies with a team of people who, said, we like to program. We're just here to write code and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, but I think someday you're going to want to move up in the organization, or you could stay here in the sub-basement in the dark writing code with your, they had a rubber rat that was their mascot that they showed me. And it's like, and I laughed. I said, you could stay here with the rat and in the dark and write code. But I think someday you're going to want maybe to expand what you're doing. And maybe someday you actually will want to form a romantic relationship with someone, marry, have kids and all that. That is going to require more than your smarts, because every single person here in this organization is killer smart. Everyone, they're killer smart. So that doesn't differentiate you in any significant way from anybody else. So the thing that's going to differentiate you is your ability to build lasting, meaningful relationships with the people who are important to you. And that happens, or fails to happen, one conversation at a time.
That's brilliant. And really, at the end of the day, everyone wants to matter.
Yeah.
I want to matter. You want to matter. Our employees need to matter. Our customers need to matter. Our peers need to matter. And by taking the time to have fierce conversations, it means you matter to me.
Yes. And sometimes when we're holding a training, someone will say, man, I would love to have conversations like this in my company, but our culture wouldn't really support it. And I always say, where is this culture that you are talking about? From where I sit, when I look at you, I am looking at your culture. Every single time you enter a room, be it a Zoom meeting or an actual room, every time you walk through the door, every time you send an email, every time you send a text, every time you talk with someone, you are modeling behavior that is either helping your organization or flatlining it or actually harming it. So you go first. I mean, if you want to be seen, then how good are you at seeing others? So, and if you want to feel valued, where are you in valuing others? You go first. And it's one of the things to share, coming sort of back to the millennials, it's one of the things to share with them. You are not going to get what you want by simply whining about it and saying, this is what I want. You're going to have to be the kind of person who we will want to promote. We will want to do all these things. And you have to go first. And so, it's just not about everybody else. It's about each one of us. We create our own environment. We create our own relationships. We create our own degree of honesty, of connection with people at a deep level. And we either play around on the shore and on the surface of issues, or we get in a boat and we sail out into those gorgeous, deep blue oceans where all possibilities exist.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, and that's what I want for everyone who comes in contact with any of our trainings or any of my books. Is I want that. And I want people to feel confident about sitting beside someone they care about or who matters to them. That's my goal.
As you said, you go first. You go first
Yeah.
with fierce conversations and fierce
Yeah.
love, and
Yeah.
and that's a beautiful thing. So, Susan Scott, this has been terrific. We need more time together. I think that is what I've gotten out of this last hour together. But if other people want to reach you, how should they go about doing that?
Well, if they want to read a book, Fierce Love, it's available anywhere books are sold. They can go to my own website, which is Susan Scott with both S's capitalized, susanscott.io, or they can go to Fierce, the company website, because that gives a great deal of information about all of the training that we do and all of the options. And, everything we do, Kathleen, is truly a collaborative adventure with our clients. It's not like, okay, we're going to pull this off the shelf for you because we think this is what it's not like that. So we have these ongoing, really meaningful conversations with our clients to say, what are you trying to accomplish and what's going on? And, what are your issues? And if you could have any results, you wonder what would they be? And then together we say, okay, let's build something that will work for you.
And so you teach by going first. And I have loved this conversation. And thank you for joining us from your treehouse.
Thank you, Kathleen. It's been a pleasure, and I hope we do it again someday.
We certainly will, my scuba diving, tree-topping friend. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
You're very welcome. And that's it for another episode of Dare to Care in the Workplace. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, make sure you take a second to subscribe so you automatically get my new shows when they drop. Also, if you have a minute, I'd love if you left me a review so more folks like yourself can discover the show. Until we meet again.
This has been Dare to Care in the Workplace. To connect with Kathleen, go to KathleenQuinnBotaw.com. Kathleen's book, Dare to Care, is available wherever books are sold. Dare to Care in the Workplace is a production of Forbes Books.